Overnight, dozens of volunteers searched for people living on the streets in Brown County, and this is a count that happens twice a year, and it's critical for funding to combat homelessness. Kristen Allen is in our newsroom with what she's learning new overnight.
The count just wrapped up at 5:30 this morning after starting at 11:30 last night. 84 people were counted in Brown County overnight. However, anyone who goes to a service provider and says that they were staying on the streets last night, from now until July 31st will be added to that number. So that number is expected to increase quite a bit. One of the organizers says that there are some places that they just can't safely access, so people may have been missed, and that's why the number is expected to be higher than 84. Volunteers were out in groups going through planned routes to look for people living on the streets. They were in areas well known to the homeless population, such as the downtown area, but expanding into those rural areas as well. When they find someone, they attempt to talk to them, record some basic information, and provide them with resources that are available. The data collected is critical during the count.
The data that's collected is combined with the sheltered data, so how many people are sleeping in emergency shelters and transitional housing. It is all submitted to HUD, and it shows sheltered versus unsheltered. It shows overall trends in homelessness, and the better we are able to demonstrate that, we're showing that need for funding.
And agencies will be recording the number of people staying in shelters today as well, finalizing those numbers. Back to you.